This is TWiT.
Kira has written in and says, I have an iPhone 13 Pro Max I already finished paying off. Nice, good job. I have always kept it inside an OtterBox, so it is in excellent condition. The iPhone 13 Pro's camera has always seemed okay, so when I began to hear about the iPhone 16, I just sort of tuned out. However, it just so happens that the iPhone 16 release date is on my birthday. So we're a little bit behind on this question. Plus, after seeing the new clear case pictures you shared is what Kira said, talking about me, on Club TWiT, I quickly caught a case of the FOMO. Thank you, Kira, for being a sponsor. Yeah, I mean, essentially you are, being a member of Club TWiT. Here's my dilemma. If I order an iPhone 16 Pro Max, of course, it won't be cheap even after trading in my old phone. I could get an iPhone 15 Pro Max instead, which should be cheaper, and I think I'll still be able to use Apple Intelligence when it comes out. Do you think the iPhone 16's features make it a worthy upgrade over the iPhone 15 despite the extra cost? Kira, this is such a good question. And it is a question that doesn't have an easy answer. As you might imagine, it's probably why you asked me instead of sort of trying to, go through that question yourself. There are a few things that I want you to consider. Yes, the iPhone 15 Pro Max does support Apple Intelligence, the current set of Apple Intelligence features that are scheduled to come out. But we don't know what features Apple plans to ship down the line that will be for the most current model iPhone 16 of its lineup, of its offerings. So you may be jumping to a new phone that will quickly become obsolete in the next year due to any new additions that Apple makes that could be only available for Apple's latest set of iPhones. That's one consideration. If those Apple Intelligence features that are currently there are enough, then the iPhone 15 Pro Max is probably a good choice as far as that specific consideration goes. But there's one other thing that I think is important to consider, and it's something that makes me hesitant to suggest iPhone 15 Pro models to people versus the iPhone 15 standard models. I don't know if it's just a large amount of anecdotal evidence or if it truly is a trend and something to be aware of as a kind of large issue. But there are a not insignificant number. There are quite a few people that I have seen, myself included, who have had issues with the batteries in their iPhone 15 Pro models. People talking about the edges about the batteries not lasting as long as they would expect. People talk about the batteries reaching lower capacity quickly. I have seen a lot of complaints over time, specifically for the Pro models of the iPhone 15, and especially in particular, it seems, with the iPhone 15 Pro Max models. Now, as someone who gets a new phone every year, it hasn't been a big issue for me. But the fact that you have the 13 Pro Max right now, and we're on iPhone 16, tells me that you do a great job of holding on to your phone for quite some time. My concern is you buy the 15 Pro Max and you plan for it to be a phone that lasts for 2, 3, 4 years. And then you're looking at it going, why the heck, after 1 year of using this phone, am I already into 80% battery capacity territory? There have been huge improvements to the battery life for the iPhone 16 lineup. And my hope is that we're also going to see improvements to battery health in the 16 lineup. That has yet to play out, but that is my hope based on the battery life that we've seen from this device. As someone has pointed out in the chat, Greg from YouTube, thanks for tuning in. I'll just quote Greg, who says, in fact, not only will I quote Greg, I would bring, yeah, there we go. Greg says, everything will be obsolete whether you need it. No bleeding edge here, that is for sure. So Greg is talking about the fact that, yeah, over time, your devices are all going to be obsolete. True. But when it comes time to upgrade, if you're really itching to do it, I think that your best bet is getting the latest thing, because here's the other factor that people don't consider. I've felt, again, anecdotally, when I've talked to people about what device they should get. You get an iPhone 15 right now, and you have to bear in mind that the battery in that device was likely manufactured a while ago. And so the battery, even though it's not being used and it's just sitting there, is already older than if you get the latest model. And I know that I'm basing this a lot around battery, but I think that's the heart of your phone. It is the heart and the mitochondria of your phone. It is the power source. A lot of people are going to be griping now about how mitochondria are not the powerhouses of the cell, but that's not the point. Anyway, my point is, it is vastly important to the overall experience of your device, and take it from someone who has a significant other who has a phone that, without even using it, by the time the midday rolls around, the phone's at 40-30% battery. It's frustrating. It is upsetting. And it is also something where you have this anxiety when you go out and about. Is your phone going to be at a high enough charge throughout your day? So just based solely on the battery life and the age of the battery, because buying an older device means that the battery is going to be older, sitting on some shelf somewhere, I think that getting the latest is the best thing. I also think that when someone is a person who holds onto a device for a long time, it's worth that investment, because you can do the math, and your division, your number you're dividing by is a lot bigger than a person who's buying their phone every year. So when you're going, yes, this is going to cost me $1,200, but I've got 3 years. So I've got, 36 months that I can divide by. And suddenly that number doesn't seem so big. Even if you're just buying it outright, just thinking of it in like how much it's actually costing you per month or something can be helpful for some folks. And then there are those of us who need to buy it in 1 year. We only get to divide by 12, if that. And so that, I think, is helpful as well. You seem like a person who takes really good care of your device. You'll hold on to it for a while. I think it makes sense to get the latest and the greatest, even if it's going to cost you a little bit more upfront. And then you get to banish that FOMO as well, because you've also got the latest and the greatest there. So, yeah, I think that if it was last year and you were asking me this question, and I somehow had the knowledge of the battery life issues that I've experienced with the 15 Pro Max, then maybe I would have said, oh yeah, going to the 14 Pro Max would be fine. You don't need to go to the 15 Pro Max. But this year, I think that Apple, it's proven out that the company has updated its whole lineup to encourage people to move to this phone. Whether you get the standard iPhone 16 or the Pro model, you're getting almost all of the features. You're getting that new button. The camera control. You're getting all of the cameras. You're getting so much, regardless of what phone you get. And I think that part of the reason why all of these phones are so compelling is because Apple is attempting to make it so that people will upgrade to these devices. And they're doing that not just because the iPhone is the bottom line, but because the next set of features and offerings that the company's going to have are heavily tied in with having hardware that can run it. So if you want to hop on board that generative AI train that Apple is touting, I think it's worth upgrading to the latest model of device. So Kira, I hope that's helpful, because it's a tough call, and budgetary constraints are always something to be mindful of, and I don't ever want to push someone past their means by making a suggestion. But if it is within your ability to do so, and especially given that you just hold on to devices for more time than some of us, ding ding ding, I think that it's worth doing. If you enjoyed what you just saw, well, there's more of it. It's all over at TWiT.tv, or just click in the description and you can get links to this very episode.